in a basic sense, turbulence is the random motion of the wind, at least from the aviation perspective. Turbulence can be random motion of any fluid, but what we're talking about here is random motion of the air. So what can cause that? Well, there's lots of sources. Toward the ground, you can have heating that causes air to rise rapidly, and you can get turbulence due to air motions, one against the other. At higher altitudes, where most aircraft are flying, the main sources are one, clear air turbulence, which is kind of a misnomer because it can be not clear air, but there can be the source due to clear air. That is, you can have the jet stream causing winds to be very strong, and toward the edges of the jet stream, you can get very large shears, so changes in the wind speed and direction, typically as a function of altitude. And those shears cause the wind to break down into eddies. When these breaking wave scenarios, they're packing a lot of energy in a very localized area. So it's very hard to forecast when or where those might occur, and then what altitude they may occur. So typically, events like this happen because they come without much warning. The pilot may not know what's coming up ahead of them. For example, if it's clear air, aircraft don't have any sensors that can look ahead and see wind changes due to clear air. It's not uncommon to have turbulence encounters that cause minor injuries, up to, say, a broken bone. But fatality is very, very rare, and especially for large transport aircraft. I think there have been some studies indicating that climate change may, and I reiterate, may have an effect in increasing turbulence in the future. Now, since many of the sources of turbulence I talked about, jet stream, convection, are kind of related to heating of the atmosphere. You get more convection when there's more heating, you get more jet stream activity when there's changes in atmospheric pressure, potentially due to changes in wind flows, jet stream flows. So it's not unclear that climate change wouldn't have an effect, but it's just a hypothesis. It seems reasonable, but there's no proof of that yet. Now, based on data that we do have, I would say there's maybe a slight increase in what we've seen, but it's hard to say whether that's due to the atmosphere changing versus and airlines being more sensitive to turbulence and trying to reroute around it, and as I mentioned earlier, better forecasting of turbulence and measurements of turbulence. One, keep your seatbelt on when you can. That's a major safety. I think everyone knows that. Pilots tell that to people, but people still are lackadaisical in doing that. So I think that's key.